home to one of the world's most mysterious sights, a circle of towering stones whispering of ancient societies and arcane rites, known as Stonehenge.
Now to an incredible find overseas, an elaborate series of stone monuments believed to have been hidden for thousands of years, not far from the famous site of Stonehenge.
For 5,000 years, massive stones have stood in silence on the Salisbury Plain. We called them a sun temple, a calendar, and a sacred relic of a simple past. Each explanation felt safe, and each one was wrong. Stonehenge was never just a monument, it was a system. And when artificial intelligence finally examined it, the stones became something far more unsettling. What we are about to uncover is a structure built to shape perception, erase identity, and enforce control. This is Stonehenge, finally decoded. The myth of the peaceful sun-worshipping farmer has been accepted by many, but when we strip away the romanticism and feed the raw data of Stonehenge into deep learning models, the prehistoric curiosity vanishes. In its place emerges something that grabs attention, a machine of social engineering. Looking at these stones through a modern lens changes everything. The mystery evaporates, leaving behind something much more calculated. New mapping tech has stripped away the dirt to show what's really there. A surgical network of pathways and corridors that look less like a temple and more like an engine. It makes you realize this wasn't just a place for people to meet. It was a space engineered to control exactly where they looked and what they felt. The architecture worked to regulate movement by forcing bodies into specific tracks, dictating exactly who could go where. Knowledge was staged through restricted sightlines, ensuring that only those in the right spot witnessed the celestial alignments, while sound was manipulated to turn whispers into thunder or silence a crowd entirely. Stonehenge was never intended to be an object of beauty. It was a functional tool, a massive lithic processor designed to shape belief, regulate behavior, and maintain a grip on the human psyche across generations. To understand how this machine truly worked, we must start with its most basic operating principle: the digital resurrection, mapping the invisible empire. The investigation into Stonehenge has transitioned from the shovel to the silicon chip, fundamentally altering the archaeological paradigm. For centuries, researchers were blind, limited to what we could see with the naked eye, or dig up in small, dusty trenches. But with the use of ground-penetrating radar and airborne lasers, they have been able to peel back the earth without ever touching a stone. We aren't just looking at ruins anymore, we are looking at a digital resurrection. This technology has transformed Salisbury Plain from a quiet, empty field into a crowded, sacred landscape. The data reveals that Stonehenge was never a lonely monument standing in isolation. Instead, it was the beating heart of a massive regional machine. Deep beneath the grass, hidden from human eyes for millennia, AI algorithms have mapped 17 previously unknown monuments that emerged at the exact same time the Great Stone Circle took its iconic shape. The blank spaces we thought we knew are actually teeming with life. There are massive pits, hidden shrines, and burial mounds, forming a complex web that stretches for miles. By processing mountains of data, researchers could now see how this land evolved over 11,000 years. It turns out the empty fields were never empty at all. They were filled with the infrastructure of a highly organized, sophisticated society. We are realizing that Stonehenge wasn't just a place to visit, it was the center of a world designed down to the last inch. To grasp how deeply technology has reshaped our understanding of this site, we must look closely at the exact structures the analysis revealed and why they were never meant to be seen this way. Long before the first stones of Stonehenge were ever hauled into place, this land was already soaked in the rituals of the dead. It wasn't a wasteland, it was a construction site for the afterlife. One of the biggest discoveries is a massive timber building, a long barrow that predates the stone circle by centuries. Beyond a simple grave, it was a house for the departed, where bodies weren't buried, but displayed. The dead were left out in the open, their flesh carefully stripped away in a process that was slow, deliberate, and deeply organized. As our modern scans strip away the soil, the true scale of this dark landscape comes into the light. Dozens of burial mounds act like ancient land deeds, marking ancestral territory. Hundreds of deep pits carve out paths, boundaries, and alignments with the stars. Every monument sits in a precise position, each one a gear in a massive, planned machine. Salisbury Plain was never an empty countryside. It was a programmed environment, built to dictate exactly where people walked, what they were allowed to see, and how they understood the boundary between life and death. Stonehenge wasn't just a lucky addition to the field, it was the final command center. It was the crowning achievement of a landscape that had already been engineered to control the human spirit through memory, belief, and absolute power. The acoustic prison, sensory manipulation, and the voice of the gods. If you thought Stonehenge was built to just impress the eyes, then think again. According to AI-driven sound simulations, it was also built to control what people heard and who was allowed to hear it. Researchers recreated Stonehenge's original sound environment using a detailed scale model, matching how the monument stood around 2200 BC. What they found was something of concern. The stone circle worked like a carefully engineered sound chamber. Voices and music inside the circle became louder, about the same boost you get from a modern sound system. Sounds also lingered in the air, echoing for over half a second, similar to what you experience inside a movie theater. But here is the disturbing part. This effect only worked for those inside the circle. The massive stones reflected sound inward, while blocking it from escaping. Someone standing at the center could speak softly and still sound powerful and commanding. Anyone outside would hear little or nothing. Even more striking, the shape and spacing of the stones created strange sound tricks. A single voice could seem to come from a different place, as if spirits were speaking from behind the stones or near the distant heel stone. To people who had no understanding of acoustics, this would have felt supernatural. Low, deep sounds would have caused the ground and air to vibrate, creating a physical, almost hypnotic sensation. This could push listeners into trance-like states, making rituals feel overwhelming and otherworldly. Stonehenge was a sensory machine. It used sound to create awe, fear, and authority. Those inside were surrounded by booming voices and vibrating stone. Those outside were left in silence, watching, wondering, and excluded. If Stonehenge was built to control what people could hear, then who was actually allowed to be there? Because beneath these echoes is a much deeper silence, one written not in stone, but in DNA, marking the total disappearance of an entire people. The ghost population, genetic erasure, and the Beaker takeover. One of the most disturbing discoveries to come from modern science is that the people who first built Stonehenge did not survive as a people. For a long time, historians believed that the early farmers who raised the first stones were the direct ancestors of today's Britons. The idea is now wrong. Advanced genetic studies using AI to analyze ancient DNA and published in leading journals such as Nature show that around 4,500 years ago, nearly 90% of Britain's population was replaced. This sudden change happened when a new group arrived from mainland Europe, the Beaker people, named after their distinctive bell-shaped pottery. They brought new materials like copper and gold, and with them came genes traced back to the Eurasian steppe. Within just a few centuries, the original Neolithic population was almost completely gone. DNA taken from ancient skeletons reveals a dramatic physical shift. The first Stonehenge builders likely had olive brown skin, dark hair, and brown eyes. After the Beaker migration, those traits largely disappeared, replaced by people with lighter skin, blue or light-colored eyes, and lighter hair. Research from institutions like the UCL Genetics Institute confirms this transformation. What makes this especially interesting is how fast and thorough it was. In historical terms, a few hundred years is nothing. Entire communities vanished, and yet the bones do not show clear signs of mass slaughter. There are few battle wounds, but no widespread evidence of violent conquest. So what happened? Some researchers suggest that the newcomers may have had stronger social systems, better organization, or advantages in leadership and inheritance. Others believe disease played a major role. Illnesses carried by the Beaker people may have devastated farming communities that had no immunity. There is also the theory of male-driven migration, where incoming groups dominated reproduction over time rather than wiping people out in open war. However it happened, the result was a near total population turnover. Before the migration, Britain's population was entirely Neolithic. After it, around 90% of the genetic makeup came from the Beaker people. Stone tools gave way to copper and early bronze. Old bloodlines faded and new ones took over. This event is now referred to by some researchers as a great genetic erasure, and Stonehenge sits right at the center of it. According to AI-driven landscape and construction analysis, the Beaker people didn't abandon Stonehenge. They took control of it, rearranged stones, altered pathways, and adapted the monument to suit their own beliefs and power structures. The ancient site was reused, reprogrammed, and rebranded, and its original meaning was overwritten. Stonehenge, then, was not a timeless symbol passed gently from one generation to the next. It was a stage for one of the most dramatic population changes in European prehistory, a place where a people disappeared and another took their place, using the same stones to tell a completely different story. The Scottish transit, the impossible logistics of the altar stone. The story of Stonehenge took a dramatic turn in 2024 when AI-driven chemical analysis revealed that one of its most important stones, the 6-ton altar stone, did not come from nearby land or even from Wales, as long assumed. Instead, it originated in northeast Scotland, more than 70 and 50 kilometers away, in a geological region known as the Orcadian Basin. The discovery, led by Curtin University and published in Nature, overturned everything archaeologists thought they knew about Neolithic transport and organization. By analyzing microscopic mineral grains inside the stone, researchers identified a chemical fingerprint unique to rocks formed 1 to 2 billion years ago, found only in that part of Scotland. Moving such a massive block across prehistoric Britain by land, through forests, bogs, and rivers without roads or wheeled vehicles would have been nearly impossible. The evidence instead points to something very surprising: long-distance sea travel. The altar stone was almost certainly transported along Britain's coastline by boat, implying advanced maritime knowledge and carefully coordinated logistics. The placement of a Scottish stone at the heart of a monument in southern England was no accident. It was a symbolic act, linking distant regions into a single statement of power and unity. AI analysis now suggests that Stonehenge was designed with deliberate intent at every level. Each stone was selected not just for function, but for meaning. The monument becomes less a mysterious ruin and more a carefully engineered message, one that proclaimed control over land, sea, and belief across the entire ancient British world. The sacred slaughter, excarnation, and the rituals of the dead. As the scanning project pushed deeper beneath the ground, a very concerning picture of the Stonehenge landscape began to emerge. The AI did not just find monuments for the living, it also uncovered places designed specifically for the dead. One of the most shocking discoveries was a 108-foot-long wooden building hidden beneath an ancient burial mound known as a long barrow. This structure provided the clearest evidence of ritual excarnation, a practice where bodies were deliberately stripped of flesh before burial. This was not a simple grave. The dead were carefully laid out inside the building and left exposed to birds, insects, and the elements. Only after the flesh had fully decayed were the bones collected and buried elsewhere. To the people of the time, this was not cruelty, it was belief. They saw death as a process, not a moment, and they used architecture to control every stage of it. AI-generated 3D models show that the building had narrow entrances and hidden inner chambers, clearly designed to keep these unsettling rituals out of public sight. The darker discoveries did not stop there. A skeleton first uncovered in 1923 was recently re-examined using modern forensic tools. The analysis revealed that the man, likely in his 30s, had been ritually beheaded with a single, precise strike. This was a deliberate execution, possibly tied to power, punishment, or religious sacrifice. Even more revealing was the reanalysis of human remains found in the Aubrey holes, a ring of pits around Stonehenge that were long dismissed as insignificant. AI analysis showed that these pits contained the cremated remains of 63 individuals, including men, women, and children in roughly equal numbers. This was an elite burial ground. Other high-status burials, such as the famous Boscombe Bowman, reveal that Stonehenge attracted people from far beyond the local area, including migrants from Wales and mainland Europe. This points to a cosmopolitan elite drawn together by shared power, belief, and privilege. Taken together, these discoveries suggest that Stonehenge was not only about honoring the dead, it was about controlling fear. By deciding how bodies were treated after death, and by staging rituals that felt supernatural and terrifying, the ruling class reinforced obedience among the living. But fear alone was not enough. To make power absolute, it had to be contained, directed, and enforced. Who was allowed inside this world of stone and ritual, and who was deliberately kept out? The Durrington Perimeter, the mechanics of exclusion. Stonehenge may be the symbol everyone recognizes, but AI research has revealed that the real giant sits 2 kilometers away. Surrounding the ancient settlement of Durrington Walls is a massive ring of deep pits forming a circle more than 2 kilometers wide, enclosing an area larger than 3 square kilometers. Some of these pits are 10 meters across and 5 meters deep, making this the largest known prehistoric structure in Britain, far bigger than Stonehenge itself. These pits were not random holes or natural features. Using soil cores, sediment studies, and ancient DNA trapped in the ground, AI analysis confirmed they were deliberately dug, carefully maintained, and used for centuries. Their purpose was clear. They marked a powerful boundary between 2 worlds. Inside lay Durrington Walls, the place of the living. Beyond stood Stonehenge, the realm of the dead. The precision of the pit ring shows that its builders understood surveying and large-scale planning at a level equal to the stone circle. Beyond being a ritual space, this was crowd control on a massive scale. By forcing people to enter through specific gaps or keeping them out entirely, the elite could regulate who moved where, when, and why. AI now describes this landscape as a total control system. The pits acted like invisible rules written into the land itself, guiding behavior without walls or guards. What once looked like mysterious holes were actually the operating system of a society obsessed with order, boundaries, and authority. Proof that Stonehenge was never just a monument, but part of a much larger machine. The lunar clock, tracking the cosmic reset. In 2024 and 2025, scientists turned their focus to a rare sky event that clearly mattered deeply to Stonehenge's builders, the Major Lunar Standstill. This event happens only once every 18.6 years, when the moon rises and sets at its most extreme points on the horizon. Using AI to analyze the positions of Stonehenge's station stones, researchers confirmed that the monument was carefully designed to track this long and complex lunar cycle with remarkable accuracy. During a major lunar standstill, something strange happens in the sky. Over just 2 weeks, the moon climbs much higher than usual, higher than the sun ever reaches. On full moon nights, the landscape is bathed in an eerie, almost daylight-like glow. To people living thousands of years ago, this would have felt unnatural, even supernatural. AI modeling suggests this rare 18.6-year cycle worked like a cosmic countdown clock. While anyone could notice the yearly solstices, only a select few could predict when the moon would reach these extreme positions. This knowledge gave the elite immense power. If you could predict the moon's most dramatic appearances, you could claim control over time itself. Stonehenge wasn't just aligned to the sun. Its main stones mark the annual solstices, helping guide farming and seasonal rituals. But if it truly functions like a giant celestial clock, what happens when the countdown reaches its peak? The builders tied the rhythms of the moon to human behavior, belief, and obedience. By linking celestial cycles to ritual power, Stonehenge became a tool that blended astronomy with control, binding life on Earth to the movements of the cosmos above. The future of the past, AI, and the continuous discovery. The investigation is not over yet. Today, AI is being used to read details so small they were once invisible to science. One example is finger flutings, marks left when prehistoric people dragged their fingers through soft clay. By training machine learning models on these patterns, researchers can now estimate whether the maker was male or female, young or old, and even whether they were left or right-handed. It is, in effect, a quiet conversation across thousands of years, allowing ordinary people who lived near Stonehenge to step out of anonymity and back into history. AI is also transforming how new sites are found. Using airborne LiDAR, researchers can now see through dense forests and vegetation to reveal structures hidden for centuries. Even more remarkable, scientists are training AI with simulated archaeological sites, artificial patterns placed into LiDAR data, so the system learns what to look for before a real site is ever discovered. This approach allows researchers to predict where important remains are likely buried, turning archaeology from a slow, reactive process into a forward-looking, predictive science. Stonehenge was a machine made of stone, sound, landscape, and belief, built to last and built to influence. As AI continues to peel back the layers beneath the Salisbury Plain, we are learning more than how these people lived. We are beginning to understand how they governed, how they shaped belief, and how power itself was engineered into the land. After 5,000 years, are we finally ready to understand the message these stones were meant to send? And if we are, what does that truth reveal about power, control, and the systems we still live under today? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. To enjoy more content like this, click on the next video on your screen.